So there are quite a few people who are new to this channel, and if you've recently clicked subscribe, thank you very much for your support. And on this channel, I started this last year where every Monday I would post a power rankings video to basically take a snapshot of where we are in the Ontario Hockey League with teams who are doing well, who are kind of sitting in the middle of the pack, or have been struggling of late. So I'm going to continue that again this year, and this is the first week of the power rankings because on Wednesday, the regular season gets underway. The Saginaw Spirit, they're going to raise their Memorial Cup championship banner on Wednesday night at home against the Windsor Spitfires at the Dow Event Center. And once the puck's dropped, well, 2024-25 is underway, and we're going to have so many twists and turns. This channel will be there throughout. And we'll also have a few live streams in there. I'm going to look to try and do a few more live streams than what I did last year. But still, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it all starts with the power rankings. Now, to note, I used the final power rankings of last season as the foundation and then used my formula during the preseason because it wasn't a balanced schedule. You had some teams who played 6 games, others played 4 or 5. Then you look at Flint and Kingston. They only played 3 preseason games. So I tried to keep things a little balanced to have a snapshot of where we are going into the opening week. And I know we can take all the results with a grain of salt, but still, it's fun to look at where teams are and how they're doing. So we're going to do the power rankings from 20th to number 1, and you have to have a team at the bottom. And unfortunately, to start us off is the Guelph Storm. They were 1-3 in the preseason. For the Guelph Storm last season, the problems were health and goal scoring. And if they can get Jet Luchenko back from the Philadelphia Flyers, he will be a key factor for this team offensively. And then you got Braden Gillespie in net, who's pretty solid. So for the Guelph Storm, yes, I have them 20th right now, but I think this is a team that could improve as the season progresses. Their top scorers from the preseason, Leo Serlin, he had 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Parker Snellgrove, he had 4 goals during the preseason, and third in scoring was Ryland Singh, 2 goals, 2 assists, good for 4 points. They start the season with a home-and-home against the Owen Sound Attack. The first game will be Friday night at the Sleeman Center against Owen Sound before traveling up Highway 6 to face the Attack at the Bayshore on Saturday. 19th in the power ranking, the Niagara Ice Dogs. They had a record of 1-2-1 in the preseason. The Niagara Ice Dogs, a team that wants to make the playoffs. They haven't seen postseason play since 2019. I know we have the COVID years in there where the playoffs and the season were canceled, so it just makes it even longer since fans in St. Catharines have been able to enjoy playoff hockey, and this is a team looking to snap that drought, similar to what the Erie Otters did last year. The Niagara Ice Dogs, though, continue to make plenty of moves. It's one thing that's been consistent these last few seasons are the amount of trades you can expect involving the Niagara Ice Dogs, and the offseason has been no different. But we also saw Kevin He, a good showing with the Winnipeg Jets at the NHL training camp. We expect him to come back to the OHL, but until then, scoring might be a bit of a light spot for this Niagara team to start the regular season. But they did have some good quality games in that preseason, leading the way in scoring. Brady Wasslin, their 3rd overall pick at the OHL draft, 2 goals, 4 assists, good for 6 points. Mike Levin, 2nd in points with 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. And then Ethan Zada, 3rd in scoring with 2 goals, 3 assists, good for 5 points. So the Niagara Ice Dogs, they start the season on the road. Friday night, they're up in Ottawa to face the 67s. And then on Sunday, they visit the Kingston Frontenacs. 18th, the Peterborough Petes. They had a record of 3-2, which is not too bad for the preseason. Chase Lefebvre, he was outstanding in the preseason, trying to leave his case as to why the Petes should keep him for this upcoming season. He had 6 goals, 1 assist for 7 points. Those 6 goals tied him for 1st in the preseason. So if the Peterborough Petes can get that kind of offensive contribution from Chase Lefebvre on a regular basis, this Peterborough Petes team, they could challenge for a playoff spot if it's a whole buy-in with this lineup. So I do like the direction the Peterborough Petes are going. Just right now in the power rankings, I have them sitting at 18th. 2nd in scoring, Aiden Young. He had 5 assists, good for 5 points. Of course, he was one of the big pickups at the OHL trade deadline last year. And then Jonathan Malee, 3rd in scoring with 2 goals, 2 assists, good for 4 points. So the Peterborough Petes, they opened the season on home ice Thursday against the Kingston Frontenacs before traveling to North Bay Friday night to face the Battalion. 17th in the power ranking, the Sarnia Sting. They had a record of 2-2-1. The Sarnia Sting, they're a team that's been kind of quiet during the offseason. They had a few marquee signings. They want to address the offense, and I think this is a team that maybe next year is the year that they want to take that step towards contending in the West Division. It's still going to be exciting to see what this team can do because the offense, it was there in the preseason. Ryan Brown led the way in points with 5 goals, 1 assist. Those 5 goals puts him 5th in scoring for the OHL preseason. And then James Barr, 6 assists, good for 6 points. He is 4th in assists. So some good signs there for the Sarnia Sting coming out of the preseason. And then their second overall pick at the OHL entry draft, Alessandro Delorio, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, which puts him 3rd in team scoring in the preseason. So not too bad there for their rookie. Coming up, they play on home ice Friday against the Windsor Spitfires before traveling to Saginaw to face the Spirit on Saturday. 16th, I have the Flint Firebirds. Limited showing, but their record not too great. 0-2-1. The only team in the OHL not to get a victory in the preseason. Christopher Thibodeau led the way, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Of course, he was acquired from the Kingston Frontenacs during the offseason. And for Flint, they were one of the busier teams when it came to movement. Of course, Tristan Bertucci was the big player to be moved out. He ended up with the Barrie Colts. But then you bring in players like Evan Conyon and Matthew Mania. Here's Chris Thibodeau. I do feel as though the Flint Firebirds are going to do better than what we saw in the preseason. They could be a team that challenges for the West Division, which I feel is wide open. So after Thibodeau, Jimmy Lombardi had a goal and 2 assists, 3 points, and 3rd in scoring, Nathan Aspinall, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. So really the offense looking to find that chemistry and get things going. It's not going to be easy to start the regular season because on Friday they open the season in London against the Knights, and then they host the London Knights on Saturday. So a very tough home and home to open the campaign, but that's a good measuring stick. If they can compete with London, who's expected to be one of the top teams in the Western Conference, and that could be a good sign for Flint Firebird fans. At number 15, the Barrie Colts. They had a record of 3-3, so very average during the preseason. What was really surprising was the moves they made before training camp got underway. I already mentioned Tristan Bertucci coming over from the Flint Firebirds in that 3-way deal, which saw Jack Browdy and Blair Scott end up with the Niagara Ice Dogs. But then also picking up Brad Gardner from the Ottawa 67s. I feel like this is a bit of an underrated pickup. He's a good centerman, and I think he's going to fit in well with this Barrie Colts team that has high expectations. I know there's a lot of excitement in the community, but right now I have Barrie at 15th because, like I said, this power ranking, the base of it was from the end of the regular season where the Barrie Colts were just barely getting back into the playoff picture after being out of it at the OHL trade deadline. So there's a lot of optimism going forward. Nolan Newton, a bit of a surprise here, leading the team in scoring in the preseason. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Nolan Newton, he played with the Greater Sudbury Cubs of the NOJHL, where he won a league championship there to go compete in the Centennial Cup. He looks rejuvenated, and if he does, in fact, make this Barrie Colts lineup, he is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Ty York, he did come in second in scoring, 1 goal, 4 assists, good for 5 points. And then Shamar Moses, a goal and 3 assists, good for 4 points, puts him 3rd in points for the preseason. Coming up, the Barrie Colts do open the season on the road in Sudbury Friday night, and then Saturday will be the home opener against the North Bay Battalion. And Gene and I, of course, will be broadcasting that game from the Saddlein Arena on Rogers TV, and then Thomas West will be on the sidelines as our host. We can't wait to get the regular season underway, and it's always a good matchup when it's Barrie versus North Bay, especially when you start the regular season. 14th on the power ranking, the Kingston Frontenacs. A 2-1 record, so not too bad there. What I find fun is the fact that Cedric Gendon, who they picked up from the Owen Sound attack, led the team in scoring. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. I really like the pickup of Cedric Gendon from Owen Sound because when he was with the attack, I felt like he was a player that was all over the ice. He's got a great hockey sense. He'll go to the net. He can also be a great playmaker like we see here in the preseason. So I think Kingston fans are going to be happy with him as one of their overagers. And then you've got Tyler Hopkins, 4 assists, 4 points. And then Ben Pickle, the former Barrie Colt, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points in his preseason. I think Kingston could be that dark horse team in the East Division. We usually talk about the top 4 in the East being Brampton, Barrie, Brantford, and Oshawa. The Kingston Frontenacs, I think, could be a bit of a surprise in the Eastern Conference. Their season starts on the road Thursday night against the Peterborough Petes before hosting the Oshawa Generals Friday, and then on Sunday, they take on the Niagara Ice Dogs. 13th in the power ranking, I have the Owen Sound Attack. 2-1-1 was their record. For the attack, I feel like they're taking a bit of a step back. There's a lot of questions in regards to Colby Barlow. Of course, we know that he did not report to the Owen Sound Attack camp because he was focused on the Winnipeg Jets, and it sounds like a trade could be announced when he gets back to junior, but nothing's been made official. We have to wait and see what all transpires. It sounds like an Eastern Conference team is where he may land. We're hearing rumors of Oshawa, of Barrie, potentially Brampton. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But this is an Owen Sound Attack team, I think, that's entering a bit of a rebuild. But I do have them 13th in the power ranking. I felt like they did play relatively well. Braden Rogers led the way in scoring, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. Harry Nancy, second, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. And then Teos Jordan, he had 2 goals in the preseason. That puts him third in scoring. So I think scoring might be a bit of a challenge for Owen Sound going in the regular season. But they have Carter George in net, who is one of the top goaltenders in the Ontario Hockey League. Owen Sound, I think, could be a fascinating team to follow. They opened the season with their home-and-home against the Guelph Storm Friday night at the Sleeman Center before playing at the Bayshore Saturday night. 12th in the power rankings. This might surprise some. I have the Brampton Steelheads. They had a record of 1-2-1. They didn't win their first preseason game until the final day of the schedule against the Barrie Colts, and that was a close game. It was a 2-1 final for the Brampton Steelheads. So for the Steelheads, I think this is a team that's still working on the chemistry, but they have the depth. They had several players away at NHL camp, which really impacted their roster and lineup. So that's why they're right now sitting 12th in this power ranking. Expect them to climb once they get all their players back. They already made the statement picking up Carson Rakoff from the Kitchener Rangers, and I don't think they're done adding. They got all those picks in the Ryerson Leaders trade with the Brantford Bulldogs. They'll use that to add more pieces as they look for a deep run this season. Finn Harding, he led the way in scoring in the preseason, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. Parker Von Richter, second, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. And then Porter Martone, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. And Martone, he's anticipated to be one of the top 5 picks in the upcoming 2025 NHL entry draft. And that just goes to show how much talent is on this Steelheads team. They start the year at home against the Brantford Bulldogs Friday night. So that's the first game back in Brampton at the CAA Center since the Battalion moved out about 10 years ago. And then the Steelheads go on the road to face the Erie Otters on Saturday. Number 11, the Windsor Spitfires. They were 5-0 during the preseason, one of the better teams to open up the preseason schedule. I know it's the preseason, so take things with a grain of salt, but after this team finished last in the Western Conference standings, they won the draft lottery and selected Ethan Belchet's first overall. I think there is a lot of optimism with this Spitfires team, and I would not be surprised if they challenge for playoff positioning in the West this year. Belchet's, who, like I said, selected first overall, had an outstanding preseason, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points. So those 6 goals ties him for first in the preseason in the OHL, and he is second overall in points for the preseason. So not too shabby of a debut. Then you have Noah Morneau. He had a good preseason as well. 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points. He is tied with Belchet's for first in scoring or goal scoring in the OHL preseason and also 5th in points. So right there, this offense looks a lot better than what we saw last season. And I think Windsor, they could surprise some people in the Western Conference. Rounding out the top 3 in points, Jack Nesbitt, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Not too bad either. So the Windsor Spitfires, they open the season on the road Wednesday night in Saginaw, and then travel to Sarnia Friday night, and then they host the Kitchener Rangers on Saturday. At number 10, I have the Erie Otters. A little disappointed with their showing in the preseason. They had a record of 1-3. Pano Famous, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points to lead the way in scoring. Brett Hammond, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. And then Kerry Tarrant, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in the preseason. Now, the big news for this team is they'll be without Matthew Schaefer for some time after it was revealed that he is dealing with mono, which is really tough because he was the top-ranked OHL player in Bob McKenzie's draft preview video for the 2025. And for the Otters, I kind of vision them as a team that could challenge for top spot in the West. But if health is going to become an issue here, if goal scoring is going to become an issue, or keeping pucks out of the net, then the Erie Otters, they'll have some work to do. But I think it is the preseason, and you can take it with a grain of salt. The Otters should be better come the regular season, and it all depends on how this team will come about. We still have a lot of unknowns when it comes to players returning from NHL camp, but I do have them 10th, so right in the middle of the OHL power rankings. Coming up, they do open the season on the road against the Kitchener Rangers on Friday, and then Saturday, they're at home against the Brampton Steelheads. Number 9 in the power ranking, the Brantford Bulldogs. 3-2-1 was their record, so they looked pretty good in the preseason. Jake O'Brien leading the way in points. 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points. He was first in points and assists. So O'Brien, of course, named OHL Rookie of the Year last year, and he's continued where he left off. And I think this Bulldogs offense, matched with their solid goaltending of Ryerson Leanders, makes this team a true threat in the East. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch to see how this all transpires. Plus, Nick Lardis, he was second in points, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. We saw what he was capable of last year leading the Bulldogs in scoring. They really felt his loss when he was hurt for that second half. But when he came back, really helping in that playoff push for the Brantford Bulldogs. And then third in scoring, Patrick Thomas, the overager, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. So for the Bulldogs, they open the season on the road against the Brampton Steelheads, and then they're at home Saturday against the Oshawa Generals. So 2 very tough opponents to open the season, because both Brampton and Oshawa are seen as some of the top contenders in the Eastern Conference. So it's going to be a good test for this Brantford team to get right out of the gate. 8th on the power ranking, the Sioux Greyhounds. I feel like maybe they could have been a little lower in the power rankings here. They only had a record of 1-3. And for the Sioux Greyhounds, a lot of players graduating from last year's team. They had that run that ended in Game 7 in the second round against Saginaw. I do believe Sault Ste. Marie should be a playoff team this year, but there's still a lot of questions about the direction this team's going to go into this upcoming season. Brady Smith led the way in points with 6 assists, which is tied for second in the preseason. And then you got Brady Martin, a goal, 3 assists, 4 points for second in team scoring. And Marco Mignosa, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. So the Sioux Greyhounds team, it's going to be an interesting start for them. They're going to play both games at home this weekend. Friday night against Saginaw, and then Saturday against Sudbury. That test is going to be big against the Spirit on Friday. I think we'll start to get a sense of where this Greyhounds team is and how things going to work out for this team going forward. I know Sean Bednard from the Erie Otters, when I did the Western Conference preview video, he kind of wondered if Sault Ste. Marie could be that dark horse in the West to take the West Division. So we'll have to wait and see here. They do have some good goaltending with Miller in net if he gets the crease, and then we'll just have to wait and see how things pan out. I think the Greyhounds will be an interesting team to follow, and that's why they're right now sitting 8th right now in the power ranking. 7th in the power ranking, I have the Sudbury Wolves. They had a record of 3-1, and there's been a lot of questions about what direction this team is going to take. Are they going to go into a rebuild? Do they try and be competitive? What do they do with Quentin Musty? Right now, Musty having a great showing with the San Jose Sharks at their NHL rookie camp and now at the main camp. So if Musty returns to the OHL, that's when the Sudbury Wolves are going to face big questions. Right now, a lot of people are focused on the Colby Barlow situation in Owen Sound. Once that's addressed, I think then the next focus will become Quentin Musty. For the Sudbury Wolves, they did get a good preseason. Chase Coughlin, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, which is tied for second. So a great job there. Kieran Walton also having a good preseason for Sudbury. 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. And then Hudson Chitaroni, he had 2 goals, 4 assists, good for 6 points. So the Sudbury Wolves, I feel like they're at that point. They could go either way. Do you look to this season to contend, or do you look to the future? I think it's kind of teetering as to which direction they go. And it all depends on what kind of start to the season they get. On Friday, they open the season at home against the Barrie Colts, and then on Saturday, travel to Sault Ste. Marie to battle the Greyhounds. 6th, I have the Ottawa 67s. They're kind of similar to the Sudbury Wolves in that do they look to the future, or do they try to stay competitive in the East? We already saw them trade Brad Gardner off to the Barrie Colts. I think Ottawa might be a team that looks to retool. So yes, they're 6th in the power rankings right now, but I anticipate the 67s to maybe drop as the season gets underway. But they did get some great defense, and their goaltending is pretty good with McKenzie between the pipes. So we'll have to wait and see, I think, for the Ottawa 67s. A lot of question marks with this team. Chris Barlas led the way in scoring, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. Kimi Kobler, a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. And then Ethan Amidovsky had 2 goals in the preseason. Coming up, they do open the season against the Niagara Ice Dogs on Friday, and then Sunday they make the trip to Oshawa. So it's the 67s are a team that I think could go either way, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lean a little bit more towards a rebuild or retool. 5th in the power rankings, the North Bay Battalion, another team that's, I think, going to start, as the season gets underway, expect the Battalion to start to slide down a bit down the power rankings. They had a record of 2-2, so that was pretty average. There's questions about Dalen Wakely. Does he come back for an overage season? And if he does return, there's teams that have vacancies for the overage situation that they would love to have Wakely join them. So the North Bay Battalion, a team that's been to 3 consecutive Eastern Conference championships, that eventually in the junior hockey cycles, they're going to have to rebuild, sell off some of those veteran players. I thought last year they were going to do that, but this year seems a lot more likely. They're 5th right now in the power rankings, kind of like Ottawa and Sudbury. I'm expecting them to slide as the season gets underway, but it's North Bay. They're a team that usually finds ways to win. Jacob Tarian led the way in scoring, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. Liram Amidovsky had 2 goals, so 2 points for him. And then Andrew LeBlanc, 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. So scoring was a bit of an issue there in the preseason, but Mike McIver in net, it's kind of like the Owen Sound attack. You have a good goaltender. How far can you ride that to start the regular season to get those points? On Friday, they opened the season at home against the Peterborough Petes before traveling to Barrie to face the Colts on Saturday. 4th in the power rankings, the Saginaw Spirit. They had a record of 3-1-1. Of course, they won the Memorial Cup last year on home ice. A lot of people during the offseason were expecting, the Saginaw Spirit, they're going to sell off, recoup those picks and young talent that they traded away last year because they went all in. But with the way the West Division looks and the talent coming back, Saginaw could make things interesting. Michael Misa, he led the way in scoring in the preseason, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, tied for 2nd in points. And when you've got a talent like Michael Misa, he could help with this team and then maybe tinker a bit with the depth, bring in a few veteran players. And as long as they're not expensive players and you're not mortgaging more of your future, the Saginaw Spirit, I think, could make things very interesting in a wide open West Division. And then you have Christian Epperson. He was 2nd in team scoring in the preseason, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. And Jacob Cloutier 3rd with 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points. So Saginaw, very interesting. And of course, they're going to raise their banner when the season opens Wednesday night at home against the Windsor Spitfires. Friday, they're in Sault Ste. Marie to face the Greyhounds. And on Saturday, they're home to the Sarnia Sting. 3rd in the power rankings, the Oshawa Generals. 2-1-1 was their record in the preseason. Oshawa, of course, went all the way to the OHL final last year where they were swept by the London Knights. And many expect Oshawa to challenge again for the East. However, health is becoming a bit of a question mark. We know Beckett Seneca is out due to a foot injury. Ben Danford suffered a head injury at the Toronto Maple Leafs rookie camp. And when is Callum Ritchie coming back? Or does he stick with the Colorado Avalanche organization? Those are the questions facing Oshawa right now. Last year, the Generals got off to a slow start. And then once Ritchie came back and they picked up Connor Lockhart, the team took steps and became one of the more dominant teams in the Eastern Conference. Could they do it again? Maybe. Derek Laxdal, of course, no longer with the team as head coach. He went off to Coachella Valley, so they're going to have a new coaching staff behind the bench. How is that going to affect their systems? I don't think it's going to be that much of a change, but that will be an area of focus. And I do think Oshawa will do well this year, but it's how do they handle some of these changes and injuries early on? Now, Owen Griffin led the way in points, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Matthew Buckley, who has an amazing shot on the power play, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points in the preseason. And Ethan Toms, 2 goals, 1 assist, good for 3 points. So for Oshawa, they open the season on the road in Kingston Friday night. They're in Brantford Saturday and then home to Ottawa on Sunday. So they're one of the first teams to play a 3-3 for this regular season. So a tough start for the Oshawa Generals to the regular season. Second in the power rankings, the London Knights. 3-1 was their record. And London, again, one of the favorites for the Western Conference. The question, though, Easton Cowan, does he stay with the Toronto Maple Leafs or does he come back? If he comes back to the London Knights, expect him to dominate because Easton Cowan has shown that he's got the junior hockey circuit figured out. He did amazing last year with the London Knights. So if he does come back, I think London's just going to pick up from where they left off last year. They were OHL champions. They had such a deep roster. The only question might be goaltending. That Michael Simpson, he's graduated. So now we have Wilmore and net. What did the London Knights do to address that? Or do they have confidence in their goaltending? We'll have to wait and see what Dale Hunter and Mark Hunter are able to do. But the London Knights, they're expected to do great things again this year. Caden Johnston, though, led the team in scoring, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. He was 4th in goals. And for Caden Johnston, another one of those players that they took their time with developing, and now he seems to be ready to take that leap with the Knights organization. Sam O'Reilly, 2nd in points, a goal, 5 assists, good for 6 points. And then Evan Van Gorp, who really turned it on late in the season last year. He had 3 goals, 1 assist in the preseason, 4 points. So for the London Knights, they do open the season with a home and home with the Flint Firebirds. Friday night will be at the Budweiser Gardens, and then Saturday they travel to Flint. So after all those 19 teams, who is number 1? Well, if you're a fan of this team, you've been waiting for me to say it. It's the Kitchener Rangers. 5-0-1 was their record. Every game in the preseason went to a shootout. So it could have gone either way here for the Kitchener Rangers. But you have to give credit where credit is due. I know it's the preseason, but what UC Ahokas is doing behind the bench with a team that everyone was figuring they're selling, they're going to be a team that's going to take a step back. He's showing that this is a Kitchener Rangers team that's you can't take lightly, even if they're a team that's looking to the future. Yes, they traded away Carson Rakoff, who was their top scorer last season, but this team, they've got some depth. I do anticipate a few more moves as they recoup picks and talent. It sounds like they're going to be one of the teams putting in a bid for the 2027 CHL Memorial Cup, so that's where their focus is. But if they can get wins and experience now, that'll go a long way for this team. So that's why Kitchener, first in the power rankings going into the regular season. Tanner Lamb led the team in scoring, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Trent Swick, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. And then Luca Romano, 3rd in scoring with 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. So the Kitchener Rangers, number 1 in the power ranking for this week. That could all change come week number 2, depending on how they open the season. They play 2 games to open this season. Friday, they're at home against the Erie Otters, and then Saturday, they travel to the Windsor Spitfires. So that's how the power rankings look for week number 1. I know there's probably some teams and positions that you might have questions about or might not agree with. Let me know in the comments section down below who you think are the top teams going into the first week of the regular season, and what are you expecting from your favorite team? Do you expect your team to challenge for the division? Are they going to be middle of the pack, or is it the future that they're looking forward to? Love to see the interactions. I have so much fun putting together the power rankings. I love looking at how all the teams are doing in the OHL, not just the Barrie Colts who I cover. And hopefully you enjoy this as well. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.